Someday this journey will be remembered as our
legacy west.
Inherent in the life of the trail was its softening effect upon the souls of individuals. A sense of remission and rebirth often characterized the molding of personalities. And as the trail symbolized the passage into a new life, this transformation was not only manifest physically, but spiritually.
Having been commissioned of Jesus Christ, I baptize you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen.
I woke up about 5 o'clock this morning, and you can see the mountain in the background there. I drove up there about 6 o'clock and thought about it for a while, so I already had my mind made up. And we braved the lightning here that passed us by.
A pilgrimage to those of the Orthodox and Catholic faith is a doctrinally required journey to someplace for a blessing, to be healed or to receive something that the people seek. For Mormons, probably the only place that we make a pilgrimage to in a formal way is to the temple, and our people make pilgrimages to the temple. But this is, I don't know if people are really seeking blessings by being here, but certainly they will be blessed. And in that way that they will receive a blessing and they will receive a healing of their spirit. I think that in that way, it is a pilgrimage.
In an effort to leave behind the trivial affairs that often clutter everyday life and experience the hidden lessons of the trail, many have come, though for a brief stay, to join the wagon train. But the reevaluation of life's perspectives the trail often reveals is sometimes taught in surprisingly unexpected ways.
He was riding along and the horse was uppity, and first time out, as it turned out, he pulled back on her a little too hard, and she got over to the edge and just reared over, fell on him, the lower part of his legs, but they don't seem to be in pain.
I wanted to come and experience what they experienced and walk the trails that they walked, and I didn't get a chance to finish what was in my heart, and that was that I know that the purpose of the original Pioneer Treks, I feel the same purpose and a strong testimony of their cause, and that I know God lives, and that I know that the church has been restored to the earth, and that these forefathers of mine have had a desire to practice their religion according to their beliefs and the way that they have felt in their heart.
At times, the deportment of the brethren was most disagreeable. Or they would scoff and scorn, stay up half the night playing at dominoes and the cards, and next morning they'd be irritable and disagreeable and contrary and lax in their duties. I told them in no uncertain terms that their actions were ungodly, abominable, and a stink in the nostrils of the Most High, and that we would not proceed until they had taken time to reflect and think upon their actions and repent. Whereupon, the camp proceeded in an orderly fashion.
It was May 29th, just outside Fort Laramie, when President Young delivered such remarks to the members of the train. The rebuke accomplished its desired effect, for after fasting and prayer and a day of humble introspection, William Clayton wrote that the camp emerged into a new element, a new atmosphere, and a new society.
Keep moving, 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 though they're disapproving. Keep them doggies moving right. Don't try to understand them, just rope, throw, and brand them. Soon we'll be living high and wide. My heart's calculating, my true love will be waiting at the end of my ride.
For one beautiful week, the reenactment company witnessed the magnificent bluffs of the Wildcat Range of western Nebraska. But now, leaving Scotts Bluff and stepping up to the doorway of Wyoming, they would begin another phase of this 1,000-mile trek. After having traveled over 500 miles, they had reached the midpoint. On the 2nd and 3rd of June, the company passed through Mitchell and Henry, Nebraska. The month of June welcomed them with strong winds and heavy rains as they approached Wyoming. Passing the state border and making the change in wagon masters, they passed through Torrington and on to Fort Laramie. And after a day's rest on the beautiful grounds at the fort, the company continued west, entering Guernsey, Wyoming on Saturday the 7th. With the border of Wyoming in sight and the travels through Nebraska complete, the responsibility of wagon master is ceremoniously transferred from Joe Vogel to Ben Kern.
I was very fortunate to be the first one and to help get some of the wrinkles worked out of it. It wasn't 100% smooth all the way, but it was 100% successful, and that was the name of the game. I think it's time you get a hold of something here that's Nebraska made. Take it with pride and lead us across Wyoming safely.
I'm glad that I am doing something and following their footsteps, because I think it's kind of neat to be able to do it. I think one of these days we're not, this thing is going to be gone. We won't be able to do it again.
After laboring over 500 miles past freshly plowed cornfields, followed by the pristine vistas of open prairies, it was time to say farewell to Nebraska.
Where good corn and milo grow, I love sacred land I know. Ask about Nebraska. Ask about Nebraska. Ask about my mission home country that I love. Ask about Nebraska. Ask about Nebraska. Ask about my mission home. I love Nebraska.
When pioneers came to the west with courage strong, they met their test. They pushed their handcarts all day long, and while they pushed, they sang this song. For some must push and some must pull as we go marching up the hill. One merrily on the way we go until we reach the valley, oh.
During the handcart treks of the 1850s, it was not uncommon to hear 2 or 3 different languages within the same company. The immigrants who comprised these groups had come from England, Scotland, Denmark, and other European countries. In the modern reenactment, walkers have come from as far away as Australia and Tonga to spend time on the trail.
This handcart didn't get finished until yesterday about noon. So, at least that's our hope anyway, that once there's enough grease in the wood, it won't squeak so much.
From Torrington to Fort Laramie, the walkers met their greatest challenge yet, an unexpected long pull of 29 miles.
Please, Father in heaven, give us power for this way to Salt Lake City, and give us power for the day, for the long way to Fort Laramie. Bless the wagon meister for your job, and please bless the children, the peoples, and the sisters and brothers here on the wagon trail.
Mileage estimates are made according to road maps measured between cities, in an effort to crisscross the original trail and follow dirt or gravel roads whenever possible. Such detours can increase a day's travel by as much as 30%. Pam Wilkinson and Gordon Becherel are longtime friends from Shropshire, England. It has been their passion to retrace the steps of the early English saints. 3 years ago, they started planning their own commemorative trek all the way from Liverpool. But those plans fell through. So when they heard about this trail, they didn't hesitate to sign up.
As soon as you speak, because of the accent, people will come and talk to you. And everyone seems to have somebody in their family who was born in England, and they want to tell you about it.
You see, my wife didn't know that I was going to be walking with the handcart company. She thought I was going to ride a wagon because I had operation for cancer 18 months ago. There were certain complications, and I couldn't really walk very far. until I received a blessing from my state patriarch, Kenneth Corker, my eldest son, Mark. And that was, the blessing was that I would be able to make the journey and be able to return home. I was going to carry the British flag there as well to represent the early British saints. And I knew that once I actually took to carrying that flag, nothing was going to stop me. I had a tremendous commitment to the early saints from our country who gave their lives and were the backbone of the early Mormon church.
My admiration for them has just rocketed. I think they must have been people of tremendous faith and dedication and grit. Good English word, grit. Tough people, but people who were walking with faith in every footstep, definitely.
Near Bridgeport, Nebraska, Gordon was hospitalized. An earlier ailment in his stomach was aggravated, requiring renewed surgery. After having pulled a handcart nearly 500 miles, and after having wanted to walk every step of the journey to Salt Lake City, his objective would be indefinitely postponed. And he was taken to the emergency room in Scotts Bluff. The next morning he was in surgery for a hernia. And Ted, to whom walking each step also meant so much, left the train to be at his friend's side.
It's when he asked me to be here, it's the least I could do for him.
He wants to do this section, and he and Ted on Sunday, because they've missed it. So I thought I'd better carry his flag in case he doesn't make it. And his flag does. The flag goes all the way.
Certainly not my intention to spend the next few days or weeks or months in hospital, but is to achieve the purpose for which I am here, which is to complete the trail.
As Gordon's condition stabilized, Ted set out to make up the 3 days of walking he'd missed.
Well, unless something really drastic happens, I'll do at least the 40 miles from Bridgeport in to Scotts Bluff. In particular, Gordon and I are just so much alike in so many ways. We always push ourselves really hard. We enjoy challenges, we enjoy adventures, we enjoy the spiritual side, we enjoy the physical side, and a little bit on the stubborn, both of us here. And so we just really hit it off.
This isn't the first time Ted has had to retrace his steps in order to cover the entire distance. Being one of 2 walkers who has come all the way from Nauvoo, he hasn't wanted to miss any part of the trek. But when the wagon train went over the sandhill ruts, not all handcarts and wagons were included. So later that evening, Ted and others returned to the ruts to cover the crossing.
This is the only cart that has made it from Nauvoo. And even though it seems as though some people don't think it's special, there's a lot that thinks it's special. It's the only one that came down the Street of Tears last year, boarded the barge, went across the river into Montrose, and then from Montrose into winter quarters. And so we're now on our way to Salt Lake City, and this cart will live long after we're gone. And the journal's with it, and the cart's standing there to testify to it, is the reason we're out here. Even though the other people didn't think that it was a worthy cause, we do.
3 more miles. It was 3 more miles 10 hours ago.
Yeah, I'm walking a little gingerly now. Kind of feel like the Tin Man. I need some oil to loosen up these little joints.
What a great day. Just a great day. Started out maybe 21, maybe 22, maybe 23. It's like an auction. It just keeps going higher and higher. Then we took a detour, and now I think we're going to clock in right about 30.
Big day. Big tummy going away. That's it.
Hard day, hot day. It all came down to the wire when we was in the bush back there, and people were hurting and people were dropping out. People were dying, of thirst and heat stroke and everything else. But everybody, nobody was hurt, but it was hard going. But what amazed me was the spirits were so high out there, and when we were really getting down and dragging, Kathy Stickle offered us a prayer and for help from the Lord and to sustain us and to keep us going. And it really touched me, and I'll tell you, we got pumped after that prayer, and the Lord came down off his throne and gave us some angels, gave us some kind of help, and it's a good time. One of the best days we had, I'd say maybe the best day.
Well, they were just doing their best, and they were under a lot of stress, and they, you know, they needed help, and I was the person that was there to do it.
We're happy! We're tired, we stink!
Handcards raw on 3. 1, 2, 3!
I had the honor of carrying the flag. They gave me the honor to carry the flag, and I'll never, ever forget that privilege. It's the highlight of this trip so far, and my journal is going to be full tonight because that was such an honor to bring that flag in front of that group of people because they were showing what they had. And that's what it's all about.
The triumph of arriving into Fort Laramie was further sweetened the next day. Just 7 days after his surgery, Gordon was discharged from the hospital.
We know that in the days of the early pioneers, those who were unable to push and pull handcarts because of illness or injury were actually put on the handcarts and made it to Zion that way. And so there's a touch of authenticity here. Whether I ride or walk, I will actually make it into the valley carrying the British flag.
Just south of the town of Guernsey, Wyoming, the pioneer path has been indelibly imprinted upon the rocks above the North Platte River. The thousands of wagons that passed this point in those years of travel have blessed posterity with their signature upon the surface of the land. For as they have carved their presence and their hopes and their toils here upon the face of this bedrock, so have they left the image of their countenances upon our souls. And as the passing of years only deepens the remnants of their efforts, likewise the impact of the foundation they laid in our behalf and the manner by which they have blessed the lives of generations to follow deepens their imprint upon us.
This is the story of my great-great-great-grandfather, John Stuckey. He was born 101 years to the day from when I was born. He's a handcart pioneer for the Martin Handcart Company. And because of short rations, half rations, they were very undernourished and struggled to have the strength to cross the plains as they did. And because of that, they felt very fortunate one day when one of the teamsters shot a buffalo that he decided to share with all in the company. I will never forget how hungry I was all the time.
When one of the teamsters seeing 2 buffaloes near the oxen shot one of them, the meat was divided among the whole handcart company. My parents also got a small piece, which my father put in the back end of the handcart. That was in the forepart of the week. My father said we should save it for dinner the next Sunday. I was so very hungry all the time. The meat smelled so good while pushing the handcart. And having a little pocket knife, I could not resist, but had to cut off a piece or 2 each half day. Although I was afraid of getting a severe whipping after cutting a little off the first few times, I could not resist taking some each half day. I would chew it so long it got tasteless. When Father went to get the meat on Sunday noon, he asked me if I could cutting off some of it. I said yes. I was so hungry I could not let it alone. Then, instead of giving me a severe scolding or whipping, he did not say a word, but started to wipe the tears from his eyes.
Many times a man will come to me and say, Mr. Young, why is it that you feel you are qualified to lead this people? Say I, sir, I am not qualified to lead this people. No one is qualified to lead this people, but I am called and anointed and set forth to act as a prophet of God in the footsteps of Joseph Smith the prophet. I'm not qualified, no man is qualified, but God has called and I have answered. And I will now step into the shoes of Brother Joseph and do my duty.
Lead